to the Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. My name is Dave Savage. I am leading today's call with my wing woman, Michelle Town. What's up, Michelle Town?
Happy Friday, everybody. I survived my whiteout last week, so I'm super excited. I'll tell you guys all about it.
Was it pretty white?
No, it was a total whiteout. We were coming back down the hill from Wyoming, and we couldn't see, I couldn't see the front of my car when we were driving. It was terrible. It was scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Sounds exciting and scary at the same time. And good stories to be told from that. So we'll save that for the next week. So one of the things I'm trying to get Michelle Town to do next week, guys, is she took her team offsite. They did some planning. You know, this is a team that did $130 million in mortgage production last year, managing both realtors and a consumer direct strategy. So it's a very special team. And I'm trying to get her to come on and just focus on what did you guys learn? What did you talk about? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing? So if you want to hear Michelle Town share takeaways from that, let us know down below. Today is about interviewing, Michelle and I are going to interview Craig Sewing. Craig has become a super good personal friend. I have known Craig, I don't know if it's over 20 years, but I know it's over 15 years. And I knew him as a loan officer. I knew him as a top producing mortgage coach leader. I mean, this is a guy who's done over 1,000 total cost analysis, using media as his #1 lead strategy. He has become an entrepreneur in the media space. So Craig, are you guys Ignite Media? Is that the biggest privately owned media company in San Diego?
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah. In San Diego for sure. We have a studio down here. I don't know, 50 employees. We would be tiny in LA, which is 2 hours north of us, but we're pretty big in San Diego. So big, I guess a small pond makes us feel like a bigger fish for sure.
Yeah. Well, I love it because we live in this world now where the networks aren't the superpowers.
Yeah.
You watch the Academy Awards, you watch everything, and it's like different channels. And HBO isn't the superpower anymore. You look at what Netflix has done, you look at what Amazon has done. It's like anybody with a creative spirit and just like, let's get after it, can become a media star.
Legit goosebumps right here. I just want you to know, I'm not making that up. The Davids have a chance to battle the Goliaths right now. Go watch
exactly
the World Series a matter of a few months ago. What's the advertising is YouTube TV. And everybody on this call and in the mortgage coach community has the ability to tap into that and should. It's an amazing opportunity right now.
Yeah, so I am so fired up for this interview because I've been close to it, and I talked to you while you were writing your book, everyone, The American Dream 2.0. We're going to promote this book a few times during the call. Check it out. I think it is required reading for any mortgage, real estate, housing professional that has aligned with this concept that I want to be the digital mayor of something. Whether that's the digital mayor of your city or geo, whether that's the digital mayor of VA loans, FHA loans, doctor loans. If you have that ambition, you gotta read the book, and you gotta listen to this interview without multitasking. So Craig, let's get after it. If you could just share a little bit about your story, because I know I've interviewed you a few times, but give people a couple minutes on backstory, and then let's get into why the book and some ideas from the book that are helpful for everyone.
Cool, man. A word you've already used is entrepreneur. I think that word gets thrown around a lot these days because it's become kind of cool, and a lot of people are throwing their careers out and Hail Marys at this online space. And I think there's a lot of misinformation in that space. As we talk to the mortgage coach community, you truly are entrepreneurs. Mortgage guys, realtors, you've been entrepreneurs well before this was ever a popular term, because you eat what you kill. You have to go out there, you have to hustle. And for me, my backstory is I think I'm a serial entrepreneur from when I was mowing lawns in St. Louis, Missouri in the summer and shoveling snow in the winters. And I've always just kind of loved that hustle. And I got into the mortgage industry in 2001. Really, it's not a glorious story. I was a college dropout and got into mortgage. I had interviewed for a telemarketer position and became a loan officer, believe it or not. And quickly, as you know, Dave, as well as anyone, those times were a little bit different. Was able to move up in the industry, build a pretty big company. In 2009, I had funded 99 loans. And I like to share that time because that's, middle of that market crash, and we were doing okay. But the reality was, of those 99 loans, 100% of them were refinances, and we never met a single client. And the way I look at it is we were up the ladder on the wrong wall. We were spending a lot of money on marketing, and we became a slave to those marketing dollars. If there is one big mail piece that didn't hit, we're screwed. And it honestly caused us to go into debt. So we had to convert to a purchase-centric relational business, which is really the mantra of the mortgage coach community. And we used media to do that. We got into radio first, and it was never about, well, how many people are going to listen to us and want to refinance their mortgage? We immediately saw it as a relational opportunity. How can we leverage this medium to meet top realtors, influencers, people that are important in our marketplace, and add value to them? And that was 2009. It rolled into a daily radio show, a national radio show. And then ultimately we had the opportunity to TV in 2013. And then 2016 became the CEO of Ignite Media, where we launched our own media company, our own studio. And that's where we produce our flagship show, The American Dream, which is not owned by a network. It's commercial free. We don't have advertisers. We have partners. And we've taken this thing now into 52 cities across the country. But at the very core of it was a guy who was leveraging media as a means to build relationships for a mortgage practice. Now I've evolved into a different space now than mortgage, still very tied into it in certain ways, but it was always about relationships. And what's so fascinating about today, and I love the way you started this call, the Davids can take on the Goliaths. You now have at your fingertips the ability to do this at scale with podcasts. Right now we're doing a Facebook Live with blogs, with LinkedIn, with Instagram. Look, I know that sometimes people get a little nauseated by the social media thing. Well, there are elements of it that are nauseating, but the reality is, if you don't realize this is the greatest opportunity in the history of mankind to build a brand, to aggregate attention, and to leverage these mediums to create content and build relationships, you're really missing what I think is the greatest opportunity ever to be a marketer.
I love everything you just said. And I think people are like leaning in. Okay, what's this guy have to say? One thing I want everybody to write down from what Craig just said is he used the word influencer. And I can't remember where I read the article, but I read an article on how Quicken is spending a lot of time, a lot of money, identifying micro influencers and leveraging them in intelligent ways. And so I want everybody who's watching this, who's a mortgage professional, and you are the mayor of something, your local geographic market, your niche. Who are the influencers? Do you have that written down? Do you know their contact information? Do you follow them on social media? And are you being intentional about leveraging micro influencers in the markets that you serve? So takeaway number one, guys, make sure that you put that on the to-do list. So Craig,
hey, Dave, real quick, and I'll be quicker. I know I get long.
Conversation. You don't need to be quick. You got a full hour, bro.
Dude, I just love this stuff. You talk about Quicken Loans and tapping an influencer. What are they doing? A year ago, I met with Gary Vaynerchuk in New York City, and he said to me, Craig, who did you know first, Gary V or VaynerMedia? Now, VaynerMedia has 800 employees, is CEO of a company at 800, top in New York City. I said, well, Gary V. He said, of course. What businesses have to realize is that if you don't have a story and you don't have a personality, corporations are a bad word now. Mitt Romney, they use it against him in an election. You have to have a personality. So as we connect the dots for your mortgage professionals, you have a funding platform. You have a bank. Michelle's a top producer, not because she's got a great funding platform. She's a top producer. I'm sure that helps her, but because she's well known in her industry, she has a story. People talk about her. Now we live in an environment where you have a bigger neighborhood for people to talk about you, to look you up. And that's where this online connectivity really, really comes in here. So what Quicken is doing is they're trying to find personalities to get their word out. You should be doing that for your own business. You should be creating your own story. And it's not really just about 1003s and rates. It's about lifestyle. It's about neighborhoods. It's about helping people accomplish their American dream of homeownership. It's about showing through like a mortgage coach spreadsheet how you can accomplish financial stability, build equity, tax advantages. It's a story world. And I know you love Donald Miller with Build a Story brand. Now's that time. Now's that time to have a story and have equity in who you are and what you stand for and what your passion is.
So I want to take one quick pause. We're 10 minutes in. Michelle, I want to recommend that you are the one here ask the question after the question. So any questions you want to ask, just jump right in. And then if you see anybody online in Facebook commenting questions, put those down below. Julie Brown Swanson, we will get to your question in the, I don't know, probably the last 2/3 or last third of today's call. So Craig, I could go all over the place on this, but I do want to know, like, writing a book is not a small undertaking. It takes a lot of time and commitment, and it's like, it's on time. You know, like you're building the business, you got to take some real time to write this. Why did you decide that you need to write this book, and why now?
Oh man, that's a great question. You know, it's kind of old school, right? It's easier these days to do a podcast this morning, right? To sit down and write a book, it's more old school. In fact, that's a big message of the book. The underlying context under the title is sewing together old school techniques with new school technology. And why did I do it? I don't know. I had something to say. I'm passionate, and even if just my mom reads it and likes it, that's good enough for me. But I really believe we are in one of the greatest eras ever for achievement. And what I've seen firsthand is that you have old dogs that won't learn new tricks. They think social media is a fad. They think that it's something what millennials do to hang out, not build real relationships, and they're wrong. And if you're an old dog and you don't learn some of these new tricks, you are going to die. There's that die, survive, and thrive line. Like, a lot of people are going to die off. However, here's where they're right. If you only are in love with those mediums, being behind a computer, not building real relationships, you're missing out on the old school work ethic and relational building that got us here in the first place. So I believe if you can bring these two worlds together, the old school, the hard work, the networking, building relationships, social capital, with the new world of connectivity, that social world, if you can bring those worlds together and still realize that connectivity leads back to a handshake or a hug, now is the perfect storm. So I'm just really passionate about the opportunity. And look, I want to be really clear. I'm chasing it too. And that's a big point I make in the book. There's not I figured it out and let me just tell you all these things I've learned. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I've learned, and a lot of them are from failures, but I'm in the hustle every single day chasing my American dream, personally and professionally. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I know I've learned along the way. But I mean, you look over, I didn't get caught in a whiteout. That's San Diego. That world keeps turning, man. I watch that sunset and it keeps doing this thing. And if you don't stay with it, if you don't stay in pace with that thing, you're going to fall behind. But that's exciting to be on the leading edge in trailblazing. And so that it's a passion project that supports a lot of the other things we do.
I love that answer. And I love the way you bring old school with new technology, because one of the things I've been doing is documenting what is the modern originator. I've been to a bunch of sales rallies this year, and everybody's talking about the modern mortgage originator. And I've been asking senior leaders, well, what's the definition? What's that mean to you? And I've had everything from it's not well defined to it's tech. You know, it's use your POS, it's use mortgage coach. And while there's no doubt there is a tech piece, at the end of the day, our superpower is our empathy. Our superpower is our authenticity. Our superpower is our work ethic. So it's like IQ, EQ, it's something I'm thinking about, MQ, mortgage IQ, emotional IQ, intelligence, and putting them all together. That's the modern originator. And I like the way you took that on in the American Dream. It wasn't just do social media and do your American dream. It was really a roadmap to like do your American dream. So let's talk about, there was something in the book, and I want to make sure we get this out. And then Michelle, let me give you an opening here to ask questions. You mentioned the American dream mindset. Like, what is the American dream mindset in your perspective?
I can't help but piggyback on what you just said, because like some of the stuff you're saying.
That's what we're doing, bro. Like, hey, this is your show. Like, you flip the switch, man.
Modern, dude, I love, first of all, I have mortgage in my DNA. You know, I absolutely love this space. And you're talking about the modern day originator. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, right now, you cannot be a lender. You have to be a leader. You have to be a leader. And you mentioned a couple of really important words in today's noisy world: empathy, authenticity. In a noisy world, so many people get worried about this perfect content that they put out there, a perfect narrative or storyline. I'd rather see you authentic and imperfect and just getting out there and creating content around what your story is. But the modern day originator, I think, isn't waiting on a realtor to refer to them, even though those relationships are critical. You know, I know Michelle with her business, she gets to the consumer first. There's no reason to have to sit in the back seat and wait for a referral to get tossed to you. Like, get in the front seat, get out there, stop sitting in the back of Keller Williams offices and sponsoring tables. Like, get out there and create your own events and do your own face-to-face, belly-to-belly, or webinars like this. But all right, so as far as the mindset of the American dream, is that what you asked, Dave?
Yeah, that's that. What does that mean? It's a chapter in the book. Give us a little highlight.
The very first introduction, first page of the book talks about how I was interviewed on a radio show on 9/11 in 2018, and the radio host asked me, "Is the American dream dead?" And I looked back at him and I said, "Are you dead?" And he looked at me with a blank stare. I said, "The moment that we stop dreaming, the moment we might as well be dead." If you don't realize this is the greatest opportunity in the history of mankind to be an overachiever in the greatest country on the planet. And that's not, well, it is a biased thing. I often joke that I say I have the best mom in the world too. There's certain things you're allowed to be biased about. There's a reason that millions of people went into this country, not out of it. Now that's politics aside, walls aside. There's a reason millions of people went into this country, not out of it. Right now, there's a military that is volunteering to die for our freedoms. There's no time for excuses right now. I mean, that's just the truth. And so I think mindset is realizing this is an incredible time to be alive. This thing in our hands has changed the way the world works. And if you think it's changing fast now, it's only going to change faster. And you get to determine what your story looks like. You get to wake up every day and determine what that looks like. For me personally, it's Valentine's Day. Me and my wife, Randy, we're just out there meditating. We do that in the mornings. Why? We want to get our mind right. I try and work out in the morning, and I really try and look at every single day as an opportunity to accomplish something new and to grow. And I just think now more than ever is the best time ever for that entrepreneurial spirit.
So I wish I could see a picture of Randy. So for those of you that don't know, Randy is pregnant with twins. When are you due to become a father of twins?
We're looking at April.
Yeah. Right on. Well, that is super cool hearing you guys are out there early in the morning, and give my best to Randy. Yep. So Michelle, I've got more questions for Craig, and I want to unpack a little bit more about the American Dream mindset, because I've got my own views on that, because I've followed Craig so closely. But do you have any questions for Craig so far?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm writing them all on pieces of paper right now. So first, I wanted to go over the modern LO, and I agree with you guys. My definition of the modern LO would be using technology to further your personal relationships with your clients. That's me, because I've spent the last 10 years redefining myself and making myself, Craig, before I was the loan officer that wouldn't share anything personal about myself, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't growing. And then the second that I started opening up and letting myself be a little bit more vulnerable to my clients, it exploded. And I was like, whoa, that was cool, right? And it's nice to share. And actually, I don't have, my mindset was, I don't want to be their best friend. I want to be their mortgage professional. And you usually don't have your best friend look at your financials. So I was trying to find that gray area of how do I be that friendly and care, but not so friendly that they go, oh, you're my friend now, I don't want you to know what's going on with my financials. That was a big, hard lesson to learn for me.
In a few big words that have been dropped in this call, Dave said empathy, he said authenticity, and you just dropped a big one, which is vulnerability. I think that, look, everything we're talking about in the social digital world, it also comes with, it's noisy. A lot of things aren't real anymore. You don't know what's true anymore. And the more, first of all, when you're real, when you're authentic, you can duplicate it every day. Right? When you're dishonest or disingenuous, that's a tough thing to repeat every day. And now more than ever, I think people's bullshit meter is at an all-time high. So to be honest and vulnerable is incredibly important. And look, there are going to be some people that don't connect with you. I know for a fact, my personality at times does not connect with everyone. And it hurts my feelings a little sometimes, but in reality, for the mortgage originators out there that are creating the content, the people that you do connect with, you'll go much deeper with. And it's more about those quality relationships than it is quantity. Yes, sometimes we post in the social media world and how many followers do we have? How many likes do we have? Okay. But really, how many of those are actual meaningful relationships? I look at the bigger numbers as brand and the ability to connect, bring it back to a handshake and a hug. And if people don't know who you really are, you create a little bit of a gap of connectivity, and that's going to hurt you more than your imperfections in being vulnerable and honest.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on, and something you talked about, being an influencer. In this age, we're influencers, right? We use our technology, our social media to be influencers. I had a client call Wednesday. We were chatting, and his son's daughter, her professional job, and she has a bachelor's degree from USC, is to be an influencer.
Yeah.
He pay her to wear their clothes on Instagram, and it's clothes that she would never wear because it's not her personality.
Yeah.
She makes a very nice living at it. And I go, you can make a living doing that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But I also listened to what you said about, radio. I got into radio 2 years ago, so I was way behind the times because I was a little bit nervous about it because it's expensive and it's a big, commitment. And when we went into radio, it was not only everything I do that goes other than, word of mouth, it's always to get name brand recognition. It's so that when they hear the name Michelle Town, they don't go, who? They go, God, I've heard her name somewhere. Where is that from? And I love, when I started going on Hannity, my clients, which is so cool, my past clients will call, that's my loan officer. She's on Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because my realtors know that too. So it brings a little bit more. It's like going on Mortgage Coach and giving back to the community. I had a young lady, Lauren Evans, who I love dearly, and I was like honored. She asked me to do a video about her that she could send out to her realtors. And I was like, why would you want me to do that? I didn't think of myself as an influencer. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm that girl that wears those cute little outfits on Instagram. Maybe not that, but I'm, close to that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love what Dan Keller, so in every city for the American Dream, we isolate a mortgage partner in that city. And Dan Keller's our partner up in Seattle. And I love one thing I heard him say about a year ago, actually in a Dave Savage interview. He said, I don't expect every realtor in Seattle to do business with me, but I do expect every realtor in Seattle to know who I am. It's like, that is so strong. And I think when we hear the word influencer, it's a little bit nauseating, right? I think of like Kylie Jenner and the Kardashian world we live in. And it's just kind of, I don't know, pardon my expression. It's a little vomit worthy. But what you're doing is you're actually leveraging it to have an impact, to help people finance their dream home, to build equity. You know what I mean? Like, there's a good for it and there's a bad. One of our realtors in Sacramento reached out to me, I don't know, probably a year ago or two. And he said, love the show, love being a part of it. But I got to be honest with you, social media nauseates me and I find people to be annoying and I have a hard time doing it. And he's like, what do you think? I go, yeah, I do too. And he said, really? But you're always talking about it and you're the CEO of a media company. I go, well, yeah, here's the thing. You want some advice? I got 2 pieces of advice for you. You can unfollow people that are annoying and nauseating. And number 2, you don't have to be annoying and nauseating yourself, right? And you can come up with you can tailor your relationship with these mediums in a way that makes sense for you. And what I think you've been able to do, Michelle, is, first of all, you got yourself out of your comfort zone and you hosted a radio show. I remember when I hosted my first radio show and damn near had a panic attack on the first episode. And it was at 7 a.m. Sunday mornings and nobody was listening. There's no reason to be nervous, but I was terrified of it. But you got yourself out of your comfort zone and growth comes from discomfort. And now I imagine you're a better communicator. You're better in your client presentations. Hell, you're hosting these nationwide coaching calls. So growth comes from discomfort, getting out there and being a speaker, creating content. When we're influencing for good is when we can be proud of what that term means. The Kylie Jenner world, like, I don't know. It's a little rough, right?
Well, let's change the name. Let's not be influencers. Let's be impactors. I like that.
Well, 2 more words I want to insert, and then I have a question from Julie Brown Swanson. Julie, thank you for posting this, and everybody else join the conversation. That when you have Craig Sewing on a call, there's a few more words that we need to talk about. Transparency. I mean, transparency is a superpower in today's world, an uncommon level of transparency. When you meet Craig, he has an unlevel common of transparency. When you look at mortgage coaching, the value that we bring to loan officers, it's going from cash to close to cost over 5 years, transparency. And then one more word I want to make sure that we use throughout the call, positivity. One of the first things that got me excited about American Dream when I started referring mortgage coach leaders to it was we live in a world where positivity is not so common. You know, it's never been more divisive. There's never been more negative news, negative media, drama. And so the fact that American Dream is about homeownership, it's about transformation, it's about authenticity, and it's about positivity. So I want to make sure anybody who's listening to this, if you have questions for Craig, get them in. So Craig, anything you want to say before I bring in a question from the audience?
Yeah, I mean, transparency, Dave, you and I spoke yesterday and we talked about inviting me onto this, and you said, what are some good things to frame up? And I said, man, let it rip. I don't even want to know what questions you're going to ask, because being honest and transparent it's better than being perfectly scripted. I love that we're doing this on a Facebook Live. Yeah, there's a time and place to create perfected videos and things of that nature, but to do things like Facebook Live, it doesn't get any more honest and transparent than that. And when it comes to positivity, look, the negativity sells, because if anyone went to CNN.com, and I don't want to distract from our call here today, but if you did, you'd see 90% of the links on CNN.com are negative. And why is that? Because people click that and advertisers pay for that. So when you look at the mainstream media and the negativity, the drama, the pop culture and the Kardashians, it's because advertisers pay for those clicks, and that's just kind of the world we live in. I believe there's a blue ocean strategy right now that you just described in positivity, and there's a real thirst for that. And you don't have to host a TV show or a radio show to be a part of this movement, right? You can do this in your own business right now, and the tonality of your emails to your clients and the time that you take to help them really understand. Your realtor is going to help you find your dream home. We're going to help you finance it. And we're going to take some time today. We're going to show you how to really accomplish the American dream of not only homeownership, but the equity, unlock the tax advantages, and create 5-10-year plans around it. Positivity sells, man. It's just not popular, but it is when it comes to real human beings. It's not on the 24/7 manufactured news. And so with the show, we try and buck that trend. And like I said earlier, the Davids can take on the Goliaths now, and it seems to be working for us.
Right on. So guys, bring your questions in. I'm going to bring the first question from the audience, but I would push everybody listening to this to audit your own Facebook, your own Instagram, whatever the channels you're using to tell your story, to tell the stories that are happening in your life. You know, are you being positive? Are you being transformational? Are you being authentic? Are you having fun? And that's what we want for you guys. So here's a question from Julie that's super on point. I'm going to kind of read it. I don't read well out loud, but I'm going to do my best. I think my main challenge is balancing between my brand, mortgage tips, and personal life. I want people to get to know me and be confident in choosing me, So I think that's like one question. I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we'll kind of riff around it. And then my other challenge is getting my story out in less than 1 minute. It's hard. I love to talk and laugh, just be me, but I should talk for hours, laughed out loud. What's the perfect video time and length to tell your story, but tie it down to the interaction, if that makes sense? So I think she's going two directions. She wants some content feedback on balancing her, life, mortgage, and then she wants to know, okay, I need to net things out. What's the right time to do that in? So Craig, how would you respond?
I would say stop overthinking it, right? There's a time and place to do long form. There's a time and place to do a 1 minute video. There's a time to do an Instagram story. Do it all. But get out of your head and get into your heart. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Sometimes we overthink these things so much that it almost paralyzes us from doing nothing, versus just getting out there, knowing what's in our heart, and creating a great message around what our passion is. So I think number one, get out of your head, get into your heart. Number two, when you're creating content for your sphere, whoever it might be, when we're worried about us so much, that's where we're creating a problem. Focus on the person that you're wanting to add value to, right? So if we're not in our head and we're in our heart, and we realize the reason that Dave Savage is hosting this mortgage coach mastermind call is to add value to his community. Whether you're putting out a 1-minute little video or a 30-minute webinar, what is your intent? Does it come from here? And is it about the person that you're serving and you're connecting with and trying to add value to? Let that be your compass with how you get out there. And then don't overthink anything. You know, if it feels good, put it out there and don't second guess it. And don't read your post 7 times and wonder how perfect it was. I mean, Michelle, I think you really just spoke to this on the mortgage side of things, where you said at first, you know, you had trouble getting on your radio show and that was a little nerve-wracking, but look how things have evolved. And wouldn't you agree that things have blossomed for you and you're a lot more comfortable? And I think once you build that momentum, it has the opportunity to snowball. So I don't think there's a perfect answer for it besides get in your heart, find what your passion is and share it. And your passion might on a Saturday morning be playing with your kids. On Tuesday afternoon, it might be the fact that you just showed someone how to save $500 a month by refinancing their mortgage. As long as it's from your heart and it's meant to add value to others, I don't think you can go wrong.
I love how you answered that. And it reminded me of something Rene Rodriguez said at Amplify recently, where he said, learn to express, not impress. Impress builds a wall, express builds a bridge that creates connection. So I just put that down below. And Craig, I know you're going to an Amplify soon, but the 2 things you just said, like if Rene is listening right now, he's like, love this dude, because part of Amplify is learning how to go from connecting at a head level to a heart level. And you've already, you know, got one of those lessons, and it's clear that that's how you think and feel. Michelle, anything you want to add to that, or any questions you want to ask after that?
I think that was incredible, great advice, Craig. And it's the same thing. You're right. When I first, you can ask Dave Savage, when I first started doing Mortgage Coach, I would not do videos, never. And then I started doing videos. And then it would take me 20 minutes to do one mortgage coach because I'd rewatch the video and go, oh, I said too many times, and I delete it and redo it. And I go, oh, my hair looks awful. Or, oh, I wish I could send you the one that I just did sitting on my couch on Sunday evenings. I had to get it out. My team had just left. I was exhausted. My hair is up in a ponytail. I've got my sweatshirt on. And I said, I'm so sorry. And I explained to them, we just had this retreat, but you are so important to me. I wanted to get this out to you. So please don't judge me on my looks. And it was, and people don't. They love to connect with you. They love to see you, and don't be afraid of it. And don't overthink, because we're here. We always are here in our head. And one of the things I learned, it took me a long time to learn this too. Remember, 29 years in the business. So I'm just now coming into my own, and I'm still learning. And that was, I'm not selling a loan to somebody. And that took me a long time to embrace, because I was like, God, I don't want to sell this. I don't want to call this guy for a refinance. It's going to think I'm selling him something. No, I'm offering him an opportunity, and truly from the greatness of my heart, I think it's going to save him and his family money. And that's how I come across.
I love that. I love that. And Michelle, congrats to you for going from head to heart and then putting yourself out. I mean, that took courage. It took vulnerability. And now it's just making business more fun for you. So congratulations to you. So I want to show you guys a slide. And Craig, I'm not going to let you off so easy on that answer, because there's some things I want to unpack around it. So I'm showing a slide right now because I saw Seth O'Byrne, Craig's, I don't know, he's a partner, I think, in American Dream. Is he still the chief marketing officer? Is that his role there?
Yeah. And anyone, if you want to get to know him, he's on Thursday nights on HGTV, Hot Properties. He's the guy in the middle of it. Yeah,
this guy is a baller. But I want to show the audience a few things. I'm going to ask you a question, Craig. So guys, the American Dream is in over 50 cities. That means there's 50 lenders that are a partner. And in order to be a partner, it's a big investment of time and capital. And that means it's a lender that is really serious about being the digital mayor of that marketplace. In each one of those cities, there's 10 real estate agents. And for a real estate agent to spend over $1,000 plus their time and money, that's 10 realtors per city that are serious about being the digital mayor of something. So when I think of American Dream, it's a community of over 600 professionals in the mortgage and housing space that are like, I am going to create media, I'm going to create positive media, and I'm going to be the digital mayor of something. So there's just, a lot of folks. And the other thing I love is that, Craig is passionate, and I know that he wrote this book because he doesn't want to be the hero. He wants to be the guide. He wants to help lenders and real estate professionals crush it, not get crushed by the digital wave that's coming, but crush the digital wave. And so this is a picture of Seth O'Byrne's, and Seth O'Byrne. I've interviewed him, so check out down below. I did an interview with Seth last year, but this is a dude that is a baller real estate agent. He's he's on a TV show now. He's part of American Dream, and he's using Instagram to make money, to sell homes. So if you could speak to Julie's question, and I get it, don't overthink it, get after it, but there are some tactics and things that Seth are doing, things that these other 500 leaders are doing that's monetizing. And what are some of those things that they're doing that are just best practices? Give us the goods, brother.
Yeah, my answer, I guess, is a little philosophical, a little fluffy. So it's funny, Seth, he just helped us list our house and buy a new house. We closed literally today, which is crazy to be on this call on Valentine's Day. I remember when we sat down with him, this is probably a year ago, and he said, I closed $5.2 million in listings today. Guess where it came from? Of course, I'm like, the American Dream. He said, no. He said, Instagram. And if that doesn't hit you right between the eyes, I want to remind everybody, that whole thing, Instagram is free. It's free. He closed $5.2 million listing. I don't know what 3% of that is, but it's probably a lot on a free medium. I think, all right, so let's look at some things that you could do that actually, I think, will move the needle. I love Facebook groups. I think that is a great way to take this big medium and make it very personal. For the American Dream, we have a Facebook group. It's private, only American Dream realtors can be in this thing. And we're constantly dropping value in it. How would I translate that to mortgage professionals across the country? What's your neighborhood, right? Or do you have a niche? Are you military? I think creating Facebook groups is a home run right now to create this big medium, but boil it down to a very private group. And every time you close a client, invite them into it. You'll go from 50 people to 100 to 300 to 500. And when you're dropping value and content into that, I just think it's a big win opportunity where we take this big thing called social media and we actually whittle it down to real relationships. And you can scale relationships in a pretty unique way. If we're going to talk about Seth a little bit more.
Time out before we go on. So if you're listening to this and you are using Facebook groups, I think the strategy I've seen most common in our community is having a group for your realtors. So I've seen that a lot. Sure. I haven't seen it. I love what Craig just said. Hey, have one that's geocentric. And I did interview Jonathan and, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. I've seen a few, but if you're doing that, let me know down below. I want to follow it. And I know that what Craig just said is a fact, because if you watched the Super Bowl, and I'm pretty sure Facebook had a commercial. If they didn't have it during the Super Bowl, they've had multiple commercials lately. And what are they advertising? Facebook groups. Why are they doing that? Because they're trending and they're creating value. Now, yes, they are going to monetize that some way, somehow, because they monetize attention. But they're telling you that you want to have attention, you want to create value, Facebook group. So we know that's huge. So keep going. I just wanted to put an explanation around that.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think I'm sure a lot of you are sending newsletters. You have a database, whether it's people you've closed, leads, whatever, but maybe it's 2,000, maybe it's 10,000. Two pieces of advice. One, if you do not write your newsletter, stop it. Do not buy a service to send a cookie cutter newsletter that you didn't write, that's not your voice. If it's in real estate, nobody cares about the top things you need to know about cleaning your house this spring. If it's mortgage, interest rates are important, but let's hear it from you. And let's see more video in those newsletters because there's more connectivity. Your database is huge though. If you looked at your back end numbers on how many people open your newsletter, what, 5%, 10%, take that data, drop that into the backside of Facebook and create lookalike audiences, and the same content you're creating for that newsletter, use that to geo-target the people that are in that newsletter in a different medium. If you were sending mail, for example, take the data of all that mail and create a Facebook audience as well, so that not only people are getting your mail piece in their mailbox, but they're seeing it as they scroll through their Facebook feed. So I think creating databases in the back end of Facebook, not just boosting posts, but actually really targeting and spending. You got to reinvest in yourself. I feel like sometimes people, I look at Seth, the guy, I don't think he even looks at his P&L. I'm sure his CPA hates him because he just makes money and he spends it. And there's enough commission earned on these deals to reinvest in yourself. Now, reinvesting could be, you talked about Rene Rodriguez. It could be going to one of his speaking classes, right? It could be like Michelle's doing and creating your own radio show. It could be as simple as creating one really powerful video that tells the story of your brand. But you have to be willing to reinvest financially into yourself every time you close a deal. So hopefully there's some good takeaways for you, Dave. I think we got to reinvest in ourselves. We got to really target our databases and put them into different mediums. That's in Facebook groups. I think those are some really good takeaways. If you're not doing those things, I feel like you can really get some good value out of doing them. And these are not challenging things to do. Put it on your to-do list and just don't take it off until it's done.
I love that. I'm going to get more out of you, because I know when I interviewed Seth, he talked about Instagram. And again, Seth has been doing this for a long time. When he graduated from college, he was using social media. So I mean, he's got a gift for social media. He's got a gift for entertainment and live. I mean, he is not your average agent, but he's built up this following on Instagram. But where I'm pretty sure he monetizes, at least when I interviewed him last time, it's stories. So if you don't mind, just share some tactics that you've seen from Seth and other top realtors on how they're, because here's the deal. I think a lot of these strategies transcend to a loan officer, but whether they transcend to a loan officer or not, you're giving them stories and ideas to share at their next realtor meeting. Hey, are you following Seth O'Byrne? And did you know he's doing blank and blank? And you should follow, like, so give us a couple realtors that we should all follow, and give us some ninja moves that don't cost any money. And again, I get the invest, we should invest, but I want some free moves right now.
You're grinding me. Okay, so we're talking about Seth a lot. If you go to sethsold.com, look at his website. If I'm going to do a realtor meeting, I would say this is a guy who closes a year in production. He's a part of the dream show to be on HGTV. Go to his website. What do you think? People Google you. What do they find? If you look at Seth's website, he looks like a celebrity, right? And that gives him credibility. So I would go to all of my realtors and I'd say, let's look at your website. And just like I said about newsletters, if you don't write it, it's not good, right? If your website is just, and look, every realtor's website looks like this. These cookie cutters, they didn't even create them. They're not putting fresh content up there. People are Googling you. What are they finding? So if we're going to continue to talk about Seth, I think just copy what he does on his website and establish yourself as a celebrity. I know that he had 3 C's for his business and his marketing. I might get them wrong, but it was, credibility, connectivity, and celebrity. What are you doing to celebritize your brand? And that doesn't mean in an ego way. It just means establishing yourself as an authoritative expert on something and using some mediums around you. Here's another strategy I saw. This was an agent that was on our show. He is a military agent, and he wanted to leverage the show to create leads. Now, when people partner in our show, we're not Zillow. We're not a tech play. They're not buying leads from us. They are positioning on our show as a partner to be positioned as an expert on a very credible medium. However, I'll give you an example of I'm going to leave his name out of it, but what he did is he is a Marine captain. He said, on the next episode of The American Dream, I'm going to sell a house for a military family for no commission. And we're going to give it back to that family. If you know somebody who might be selling their house that is a veteran, I want you to tag them below. He got over 300 comments of tags. So he probably picked one out that he would sell the house for free. What do you think he did with the other 300? How can I translate that to those on this call? you don't have to have a TV show, but you could easily put something similar up. The next time I sell a house, I'm going to donate my entire commission to a charity that I am super passionate about, the Shawnee Foundation, which helps kids with cancer. If you know anyone who might be selling their home and wants to maybe get it done for zero commission, have all the money to go back to either my charity or theirs, tag them below. Content, Gary Vaynerchuk calls it, his book is Jab, Jab, Hook, where there's jabs and there's hooks. As boxers, we throw a lot more jabs. The hook is the knockout punch. Michelle was speaking to this earlier. Have authentic content, be yourself, talk about your family, friends, whatever. But if there's things that you do for a living that you want to draw attention to, that's your hook. So I think getting more content out there, but having solid calls to action. I mean, geez, news hacking. This morning, what is the newsletter that I get? Skim. They're talking about bombing Iran and the Congress voting on something, news hacking, and using that you might have seen this on the news. Did you know that story just caused mortgage rates to go to historical lows? News hacking, I think, is a really good strategy where you can use the things that people are seeing. We just had the Oscars the other day, having fun with it, using pop culture to translate into something that you can create a call to action. I think these are good strategies that can take that content into a call to action that can ultimately help you create clients.
So one more question down this vein, and then I'm gonna really crush, what is the American dream, and make sure you all know what it is and how it works. But I've heard this from a number of people, Seth included, that if you have a good timeline, whether that's Facebook, whether that's Instagram, a lot of the right hooks are in stories. Because that's a place that a lot of people don't want to respond in comments. There's just a lot of gawkers. But to be able to respond in a story, it's private. So could you just speak to that? Is that right? Like a great place for the right hooks or stories? By the way, everybody, welcome Sid Savage. She just came in. What's up?
What kind of dog is that?
What kind of dog is that? It's a Havaton. And so let's not go off topic, but I'll bring Cece. She's one of the two Savage family pets. So say hi to Cece, everybody.
What's up, Cece? So, if we're continuing on story, I saw something I thought was pretty brilliant that Seth did a matter of a couple days ago. It's a picture of him doing a handstand on a skateboard in front of a house. And he's doing a picture that's like, wow, that's kind of cool. But the narrative in the body was something to the effect of, we just sold this house, all cash offer, and it took a balancing act of staging, of doing a mega open house, of connecting the seller to buying another property. He used creativity to talk about how he sold a house. He didn't say, I just sold a house for cash. Instead, he used a picture of him doing a handstand on a skateboard in front of the front door. And what he did is he created something kind of cool that was storytelling, but it's still integrated into it, suggested, and I just sold a house for cash for $1.3 million, right? So he didn't come out and just say, look at me, I'm the greatest realtor and I sold this house cash. He did something engaging. He told a little story around it. He talked about how, he used the skateboard to talk about balance, and he used balance to talk about balancing mortgage, staging, and move up buyer. And ultimately he does things like that because it's real, it's personal, but it still has that call to action weaved into it. Like, you want to sell your house for cash too? That's what he's doing. He's having fun with it. So if you get too stuffy, I think it's going to work against you. If you do storytell or you do something fun out there, but you weave in, people connect the dots that you're a professional. Have some fun with it. And I think storytelling is a big piece of that.
Cool. So Michelle, before I close out with some questions and strategies, any questions that you have? And by the way, the person who's asked about Seth, I put a link in both Facebook. So down below, there's a link to Seth's Instagram. I also put one in Zoom. Check out chat. And if you know someone that we should follow, like, I know the Denise Donahue, the mortgage nerd, is someone that I always say follow in the mortgage coach community. Kelly Zitlow, who is the Scottsdale, Arizona mortgage leader, follow her. Dan Keller, who's the American Dream, follow him. If there's anyone else that you think we should follow to get smart on how to be a leader, not a lender, in Craig's words, put it down below. Michelle, any last questions for Craig before I close it out with him?
No, I think he's absolutely right about reinvesting. You know, that's my number one thing when I speak is if you're not taking 10% of what you earn and putting it back into yourself or your business, why should anybody else? You have to invest in yourself, and whether that be coaching, whether that be technology, whether that be, media, whatever you need to do. But I was multitasking while I was listening because I was looking at Seth's website and his things, and he's definitely an actor. He's very phenomenal. And then I checked out your guys' website, The American Dream, so it's really good. So congratulations, it's beautiful. And what a
Cool.
great fun.
Man, I'm the only one missing a dog here.
Yeah, well,
I have four,
hey, we got,
and they're all
yeah.
good. So the other thing that I really, 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 really liked was when you talked about being a leader, not a lender. It's so, I mean, anybody, if you just write that down, stick it on a sticky and put it on your computer before you talk to a person, it's going to change the way you speak to them.
Boom, mic drop. You're right. It is. It's one of those things you could run past it. That was clever. It was cool. But to your point, write that down, put it on your computer, give Craig credit, right?
Yep.
Be a leader, not a lender, Craig Suing. And then it will, if you just say that to yourself, just like the little engine that could, I can do it. I can do it. But I could be a leader. I am a leader, not a lender. It will change you. So thank you, Michelle. So Craig, let's talk about, the American Dream a little bit. I've got a slide that I want to pull up because I love this slide for a lot of reasons. One, I think I had some authorship in it, well, I didn't do it myself. This is the value prop. And I think while it is definitely something that helps your community of realtors and loan officers understand how to leverage the American Dream, I think that even if people aren't part of the network, they can understand it. But why don't you walk us through the value prop? Because I always think when I bring someone like you on, the best way I can serve them is that, one, buy his book. And don't just buy it, read it. And don't just buy it and read it. Buy a case of it and give it to your realtors. It's a great conversation starter. But for those that's right, the American Dream, tell us what it is.
Yeah, no, thank you on the book thing. And you can find that on Amazon, American Dream 2.0. And I hope you can leave reviews if hopefully you like it. But, let's be honest, right? Transparency. If you don't, whatever. But this is a thing we created. I think we tailored it for realtors, but it makes sense for mortgage as well. The show is, what's cool about it is it's a show, it's a model, and it's a movement. There's a very delicate balance in media between revenue and content. Earlier, we were talking about how negative things have gotten. Well, that's because the media makes money on that. And that's where they've sold themselves out. In our world, in media, positivity doesn't work, but we've been able to create a blue ocean strategy and really find a delicate balance between what we love is content, positive stories. It's not a reality show. It's a real show, real neighborhoods, real professionals. And we've been able to balance that with forming the economics to help us to produce a killer show and ultimately market it and do a lot of things we do around it. And so in order to do that, we don't have advertisers. We have partners. I want to flip back to that other slide, Dave, because I want to walk everyone through it. So the whole idea here is, I think everyone knows Dave Ramsey, right? If Dave Ramsey says refinance your mortgage, he's got a relationship with Churchill Mortgage. He's got an ELP network of realtors. They don't get to go on his show. He's just such an influencer that when he says that, people reach out to these people, and he has a relationship with it. In our world, we allow our realtors, assuming they're credible experts. We only invite top realtors, reputable mortgage professionals into this thing. And we were really selective on who gets to be the voice of their market. So in every market, there's 10,000 realtors. We've trademarked the term power player of real estate to only 10 in every city. And their ability to leverage that as an authoritative expert it's huge, right? It's one thing to say, hey, Mr. Seller, let's do a video together. That bubblegum's lost its taste. The last 3 realtors said the same thing. When you say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm a part of a national TV show that's centered around real estate, the same show that features Ryan Serhant from Bravo's $1 Million Listing, Seth O'Byrne from HGTV, Grant Cardone, Dave Savage from Mortgage Coach. and I, as an expert in the Houston marketplace. And I think if we took this listing together, we could showcase this neighborhood that I specialize in selling real estate, and specifically this property. The show gets millions of views. Might be a great way to actually market our open house. That's authoritative positioning. It's being seen as a credible expert. Relational leverage. Now, again, this, whether you were doing the show with us or not, this is value to everybody who's out there trying to create content, podcasts, videos, Facebook Lives, whatever. Get relationships in the game. I think this is where we really miss it, is we do a lot of this stuff about ourselves. Everybody needs marketing. Everybody needs exposure. Realtors have video, digital, and social being shoved down their throats by speakers on stage, guys like Tom Ferry. Well, their webinars, their brokers. I've seen firsthand in 52 cities, even the best really don't know what they're doing. If you can bring that solution to something they already know they need to be doing, and you say, look, by aligning with me, we're going to do a podcast every month. We're going to take behind the scene photos so that you have content that you can post. We're going to create a little graphic that you're going to get every time we do this. You are creating content for them, and you're a solution for them on things they know they need to be doing. If I hope that's a takeaway for all of our mortgage friends here on this call, is don't rely on realtors to do this stuff. You do it and provide a solution for them. And it doesn't have to just be realtors. City council members, thought leaders, charities, relationships, the name of the game. Listing asset, that's not really for this call, but our agents use it in their listing presentations. Social proof, we're in a social media world. People are looking you up. What are they finding? And then we have a network. We have the brightest minds in real estate all across the country with an exclusive mortgage partner in every city, tapping into the network, other professionals. In June, we're doing a mastermind event. So I would just encourage anybody that is on this call that has a great reputation, you're proud of what you got going on out there. If you're interested in what we do, it may not even be available in your city. It might be. Feel free to reach out to me. But these are the things that we're doing to create the solution with a media platform. But earlier you showed a slide, Dave, that had a picture of an Emmy. This is a real show. This is not a gimmick. It is not an infomercial. We use real content and real media to be able to create this platform for our partners. Now, let me be crystal clear. We have not won an Emmy. I'm not going to be on stage with Ellen probably anytime soon. If everybody knows Gary Vee, he wants to buy the Jets. It's that big, ambitious goal. My North Star is an Emmy. Whether we ever get one or not, it doesn't matter. What does matter is, are we making an impact? I love what Michelle said. Let's stop calling it influencer. That's kind of a nauseating term. Let's be impactors. Ours is in the way of positive media and bringing real stories of real neighborhoods and gaining millions of followers, not because we have an ego, because we're passionate about this thing. We think about legacy, at least I do, about my legacy already. And I want to make sure that while I'm on this planet, I do something meaningful. And right now, media is the way to do that. You don't have to have a TV show to do it. You can go do it today with this brilliant thing in my hand that weighs 8 ounces. It's a phone, that's a computer, that's a camera. You can do it today. Today you can do these things, and I hope you do.
All right, guys. So two things. I want to pull this up one more time. I want you to make sure you take a picture of it. Remember, this is recorded. Not only is this live on Facebook, it'll be in the Mortgage Coach YouTube group. But whether you are an American Dream affiliate or partner, everybody has this framework. You have how you're positioning yourself. If you're in the Mortgage Coach community, you are truly a trusted advisor. You are a mortgage coach. And you do have social media. These are platforms. And some of you have powerful platforms, and some of you don't have powerful platforms. But learn how to use those strategically. And if you do want to be an American Dream partner, you can reach out to Craig directly, follow him on social media. One of the things I am trying to do for Craig is help pick who are the lending partners in key cities, because I know a lot of the best. And what I've come to learn over the few years that I've been referring people to Craig is it's not for everyone. I mean, we have found that you need to be a legit top producer. This is not like I'm struggling in the mortgage business and this is my path to not struggling. No, you need to be doing well, and you need to have influence in your market. We know that. You need to see realtors as the #1 partner for you, because part of the American Dream is building out that realtor network of all the top realtors in that local market that want to be media leaders. And that takes work, you know, and there'll be realtors that you think are right, but then 6 months later, they're not right, you know, and you need to upgrade them. You need to top grade them because you know what? You have a channel. So it's not for everyone, but if you want to learn more about it, reach out to Craig. You can also email me at Dave@MortgageCoach. But I want to close out with this book. Just looking at this book, just having this book in your office is pretty cool. So kudos to you on the cover, bro. I love the name. I love the color. And I think it's just a good reminder. And I love the subtitle. Wait, let me make sure I get on the camera. Sewing together old school technologies with new school, or old school techniques with new school technologies. I love that. I mean, that's what we're all about at Mortgage Coach, guys. We are not afraid of the disruptors. We're concerned. We're watching them. But you know who's going to win? It's the loan officers and the professionals that leverage technology and media are going to crush those who don't. So get the book, read it, study it, buy a case of it, hand it out to your realtors. It'd be a good conversation starter. And please leverage the Mortgage Coach community. Share down below. If you're someone that's killing it, let me know. Share in comments, reach out to me at Dave@MortgageCoach. We want to tell your story. And Craig, I knew you'd crush it. You crushed it, brother. Thank you for an hour of power and value and leadership. So thank you, man.
Awesome. I put some comments in the chat box if anybody wants to reach out to me. My Instagram handle's @CraigSewingMedia. I saw some people commenting on buying the book. Thank you. Thank you, genuinely, Dave. Keep being the leader in this space, man. I've loved our friendship, and you're a true leader in this space, man. I want nobody to fear the advancement of technology, the disruptors. It's volatile, man. In disruption and chaos creates the most opportunity. Embrace it. Be on the leading edge of it. Now is not just a good time. Now is the time to do it.
Love that. So if you got value from today's call, give us a like. If you loved it, like it. If you had a good quote that you're like, I love that quote, let us know what it is. Michelle Town, let me know when you're up for being the guest of the Friday Mastermind and just sharing what you learned from your meeting with your team. You good with that?
Well, yep, will do. And Craig, my book arrives on Sunday, so I'm very excited.
Oh, love it. Love it. Dave, real quick, how did you get yours? It just came out on Tuesday. When'd you order it?
I think I might have pre-ordered it. I don't know. Dude, I represent, bro. I knew it would be good.
Real quick, 30-second story. I know you got to close out here.
No, we're good.
That's the wrong book. The publisher
it has your name on it.
Oh, I know. Save that. That's a bootleg version. So they created the book and they hadn't released it yet, but it was on Amazon. And I got the book. This is kind of a funny story. And it's one thing to write a book. It's another thing to read your own book. And I read it, and there's a couple things in it I just did not like. And I went back to the publisher and Amazon. I'm like, do not release this book. I'm going to take another 30 days and fix some things. And they hated me for it. They absolutely hated me for it. So the book you have, keep it because it's a bootleg, but get the new one, Dave, because I'm a lot more proud of it, to be honest with you.
Bro, I'm going to be getting a case of it. And by the way, thank you for the little props on the back. Little Dave Savage love.
That's what we call a blurb. That's what we call a blurb. Thanks for the blurb.
Yeah, well, it was my honor, brother. Well, hey, everybody, we went a few over. Have an awesome weekend. Have a great Valentine's Day. And we'll see you next week. Take care, y'all.
See you guys. Thanks, Dave. Thank you, Mortgage Coach.